You refresh your phone, waiting for a reply that does not come. Your stomach tightens over an outcome you cannot control. This pull of connection is something we all know, a quiet weight on our peace. The Stoic thinker Epictetus offered a different way through. He taught that no one is truly free who is not in charge of their own responses. This is not a call to become cold or distant, but an invitation to a deep change in where you place your sense of stability. Stoic perspective is the conscious choice to anchor your calm, not in the changing tides of outside events, but in the steady ground of your own understanding and values. This video will explore why this approach was central to the Stoic journey toward inner liberty. We will uncover the key ideas that help turn worry into steadiness and reaction into mindful choice. How can you care deeply and yet keep your balance? What does it really mean to be the author of your own inner experience? Where does your truest sense of freedom begin? Many people hear the word detachment and assume it means not caring, but the Stoics envisioned something far more profound and active. This is not a stepping back from life or a dulling of your feelings. It is instead a thoughtful sorting of your attention. The heart of the practice lies in a simple, powerful distinction, one that Epictetus made clear at the very start of his handbook. He wrote, "Some things are up to us and some things are not up to us. Our opinions, our impulses, our desires, our aversions, in a word, whatever is our own doing, are up to us. Our bodies, our property, our reputation, our public office, in a word, whatever is not our own doing, are not up to us. This is the essential filter." Stoic detachment asks you to direct your primary attachment, your deepest investment, toward what is truly your own doing, your judgments and your voluntary actions. Everything else, the result of your effort, the opinion of another person, the final outcome of a situation, you learn to hold more lightly. Think of a person deeply hoping for a promotion. An anxious attachment fixates on the outcome, the title, the raise, things ultimately decided by others. Every day becomes a roller coaster of checking for messages, interpreting a manager's tone, and feeling a personal sting from a decision that is not fully theirs. Now consider the Stoic approach. Here, the focus shifts to what is up to you, showing up each day and doing your most diligent, honest work. Your attachment is to your own virtuous intent and effort. The promotion itself, while preferred, is accepted calmly if it does not come, because your self-worth was never staked on it. Your peace remains anchored in your own actions, which you always control. Where in your own life are you currently tying your sense of calm to an outcome that lies, at least partly, beyond your command? The entire architecture of Stoic freedom rests on a single, simple distinction. It is the bedrock upon which every other practice is built, a principle so fundamental that without it, the whole structure crumbles. This is the dichotomy of control. Our power, the Stoics argued, lies only in our will, our choices, and our judgments. Everything else, from the health of our bodies to the opinions of others, from our possessions to our social standing, is not truly ours to command. These are externals, subject to the whims of fate and the decisions of other people. Letting go of these things is not a loss. It is the master key that unlocks a life free from constant disappointment and corrosive anxiety. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this truth in his private writings. He would remind himself that the tranquility of his soul depended entirely on the quality of his own thoughts. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." His focus was relentlessly internal, on the one thing that could never be taken from him without his consent, his own mind and its judgments. Think of yourself as the captain of a ship. Your job, your sphere of control, is to steer with skill and intention. You can check the charts, adjust the sails, and hold the wheel steady. But you cannot control the wind, you cannot command the waves. A wise captain does not waste their energy raging against the storm or pleading for a calm sea. They pour all of their focus and ability into navigating the conditions as they are. Your effort is your steering, your judgment is your compass. The final outcome of the journey, like the weather, is an external. To tie your inner peace to it is to set yourself up for a perpetual storm. So where does your own attention currently reside? Take a moment, perhaps later today, to write down 3 things that are causing you worry. Then place them into one of 2 columns. Are they within your control, your own judgments and actions, or are they outside of it, involving other people's choices or uncertain outcomes? This simple act of sorting is not just an exercise, it is the first and most profound step toward taking command of your own inner world. What if, instead of fighting reality, you learn to embrace everything that happens to you? This is the radical invitation of Amor Fati, the love of fate. It is the natural evolution of Stoic detachment, transforming it from a calm acceptance into a vibrant, creative engagement with life itself. Amor Fati is not passive resignation. It is the active choice to welcome every event, every twist of circumstance, as a necessary and even beneficial part of your journey. The challenges you face are not interruptions to your path. They are the raw materials for building your character. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by Stoic thought, captured this spirit perfectly when he wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." This is the ultimate expression of inner freedom, to will the world exactly as it is. Marcus Aurelius offered a similar guidance, reminding himself to love the humble fate which brought you through these events. He saw each moment, no matter how difficult, as an opportunity to practice a specific virtue, patience, courage, or wisdom. Think of an athlete who faces a significant physical challenge. The initial surprise and adjustment are real, but the practice of Amor Fati would ask them to love this new reality, not the situation itself, but the opportunity it presents. The necessary pause from regular training becomes a chance to develop unparalleled mental fortitude, to study the game from a new perspective, and to cultivate a deeper patience. The experience is reframed as a hidden curriculum, a necessary chapter in their larger story of growth. Where in your own life have you recently encountered a change or a redirection? Can you pause for a moment and look at that event not as a misfortune, but as a teacher? What hidden strength might it be asking you to develop? What new path might it be quietly revealing? This is the art of loving your fate, where every single thing that happens becomes fuel for your own freedom. Let's take a moment to zoom out far beyond our immediate problems. Picture the earth not as the solid ground beneath your feet, but as a tiny, fragile blue sphere hanging in the immense blackness of space. See the continents not as separate nations, but as interconnected landmasses, their borders invisible from this distance. This is the essence of the Stoic practice known as the view from above, a powerful mental exercise designed to shrink our anxieties down to their proper, almost insignificant size. It is a form of cognitive detachment, a deliberate shift in perspective that reveals how small our daily troubles truly are within the grand scheme of the cosmos. Marcus Aurelius was a master of this technique, constantly reminding himself in his private writings to look at things from above. He would contemplate the entire earth as a single point and the vastness of space around it, to see the sheer brevity of not just his own life, but of all human endeavors. He wrote, "Keep always before your eyes how swiftly all things pass away, their presence in the universe, and their memories in time. This is not meant to make our lives feel meaningless, but to free us from the tyranny of the trivial." When you are locked in a personal conflict, feeling the heat of anger or the sting of a slight, try this. Project your mind forward a century or even 500 years. Look back at this very moment from that future vantage point. How much of the detail, the sharp emotion, the perceived injustice will remain? The answer is likely none of it. The specific problem will have long since dissolved into the past. What remains is only the echo of how you chose to respond, the character you built through your reaction. The next time a worry feels overwhelming, close your eyes for just a few seconds. See the problem from the ceiling of the room, then from high above your neighborhood, then from the edge of the atmosphere. Watch as it diminishes, becoming a tiny part of a much larger, more beautiful, and more enduring whole. This cosmic context does not erase your concerns, but it allows you to hold them lightly, with a newfound sense of freedom and peace. The Stoics believed that to truly secure your peace, you should regularly contemplate losing everything. This sounds like a recipe for anxiety, but it is in fact the exact opposite. This practice, known as Premeditatio Malorum, is a deliberate exercise in mental detachment from the fear of the future. It is not about expecting the worst to happen, but about inoculating your mind against the shock of change. By rehearsing potential setbacks in your imagination, you disarm them of their power to disrupt your inner stability. You are not practicing fear, you are practicing freedom. Seneca championed this approach in his letters to his friend Lucilius. He advised him to set aside a certain number of days each month to live on the most modest means, to wear coarse clothing. Why? To prove to himself that even if he lost his wealth, the core of who he was would remain untouched. He wrote, "We should project our minds ahead to all the possibilities and send the soul on to become familiar with future ills." This is not pessimism, it is the ultimate preparation. It allows you to appreciate what you have without being enslaved by the fear of losing it. Consider a businessperson about to launch a major project. An anxious mind fixates only on success, making the possibility of failure a distant worry. But a mind trained in premeditation has already walked through that scenario. They have vividly imagined the project not meeting its goals. They have felt the initial disappointment, and then they have watched themselves respond with resilience, learning from the experience and moving forward with their core values intact. When they enter the real situation, they are calmer and more decisive because the outcome no longer holds them hostage. Their peace was secured not by a guarantee of success, but by their readiness to face any result. Think of a common concern you hold, perhaps the unease of public speaking. Close your eyes for just a moment and mentally rehearse the scenario you might find challenging. The audience may not be fully engaged. You might stumble over your words. Now, watch yourself in that moment. See yourself taking a breath, acknowledging the stumble without shame, and continuing with your message. Your worth is not in a flawless performance, but in your calm and persistent response. This mental rehearsal is how you detach your self-worth from an external outcome and anchor it firmly within your own resilient character. Have you ever noticed that you are not your thoughts? You are the one who observes them. This subtle but profound distinction is the heart of cognitive distancing, a modern practice that echoes the ancient wisdom of the Stoics. It is the art of detaching from the automatic stream of judgments and reactions that flow through your mind, creating a small but crucial gap between a trigger and your response. In that space, your freedom is born. Epictetus laid the foundation for this when he wrote, "People are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." The event itself is neutral. It is the story we instantly tell ourselves about the event that carries the emotional charge. Cognitive distancing invites you to step back and see that story not as absolute truth, but as a mental event, a passing cloud in the sky of your awareness. Imagine you are preparing for an important conversation. The automatic thought arises, this is going to go badly. They will not understand me. Without distance, that thought feels like a prediction of reality. It tightens your chest and shapes your defensive tone, but with cognitive distancing, you simply notice the thought. You might say to yourself, I am having the thought that this will go badly. This simple act of labeling separates you from the content. You are no longer fused with the prediction. You are the conscious space in which the prediction is appearing. By observing it, you reduce its power to dictate your actions. You can then choose a more constructive response based on your values, not your fears. The next time a wave of concern or self-reflection washes over you, try this gentle experiment. Do not fight the thought, just notice it, and silently, in the privacy of your own mind, place the phrase, I am having the thought, that in front of it. I am having the thought that I am not good enough. I am having the thought that this situation is difficult. Feel the slight shift that occurs. The thought is still there, but it is no longer the master of your inner world. You are the one who holds it, observes it, and ultimately decides what to do next. This is not suppression, it is liberation. The Stoics imagined the disciplined mind as a fortress, a place of inner strength that could withstand any outside pressure. They called this the inner citadel, a private sanctuary of reason and virtue that no external force could ever truly overcome. This was not a physical location, but a powerful metaphor for a state of being. Its walls were built not from stone, but from your own steady judgments and your commitment to living with integrity. A calm and thoughtful perspective acts as the gatekeeper of this space, the conscious choice to not let the world's turmoil dictate the peace you hold within. Marcus Aurelius often returned to this idea in his private writings. He noted that people seek retreats for themselves in the country, by the coast, or in the hills. But he saw this as missing the point. When you can at any moment retreat into yourself, nowhere, he believed, can one find a more peaceful and untroubled refuge than in one's own soul. True tranquility, he insisted, is not found by escaping the world, but by strengthening this inner space. Imagine a colleague caught in a whirlwind of office talk. Stories circulate, views are exchanged, and the atmosphere becomes charged. A person without this inner foundation feels every comment as a personal challenge, their mood shifting with each new piece of information. But a person who has cultivated this inner strength hears the same noise from a place of calm understanding. They recognize that the words and opinions of others are external events, things not within their direct control. They remain grounded in their own knowledge of their character and their values. They are present and engaged, yet the surrounding commotion cannot disturb their core. Their freedom and their peace remain entirely their own. The constant stream of strong opinions online works on a similar principle. The digital world is often designed to provoke immediate, emotional reactions. But from within your inner citadel, you can observe the storm without being swept away by it. You can choose a response based on reason, or you can choose not to respond at all, because your sense of self does not depend on joining every debate. Your inner citadel is your ultimate personal refuge. So what qualities would you use to strengthen its walls today? Is it the courage to hold to your principles when they are not widely shared? Is it the wisdom to see what truly deserves your focus and energy? Or is it the fairness to treat others well even when met with less? Every conscious choice for good character adds another layer to your foundation, making it a place of unshakable freedom. Our struggle often springs from two sources, craving what we do not have and fearing what we might lose. This push and pull of wanting and not wanting can feel like an endless current, carrying us away from our own peace. The Stoics offered a thoughtful solution, not to suppress these feelings, but to retrain them at their very root. They practiced a gentle stepping back from raw, irrational desire and blind aversion, aiming to align their deepest wants only with what is truly good, and their strongest dislikes only with what is genuinely unhelpful. This is the mastery of our inner drives. Epictetus put it with his characteristic clarity. He said, "Freedom is secured not by the fulfilling of one's desires, but by the removal of desire." He was not calling for a life without purpose or preference. He was pointing toward a profound shift in what we ultimately long for. The goal is to desire only virtue, to be averse only to what diminishes character, and to meet everything else with calm acceptance. When your primary craving is to act with integrity, and your primary concern is to act without it, you become unshakable. Your happiness is no longer tied to the unpredictable flow of external events. Consider the familiar pursuit of a newer car. The initial desire is powerful, promising status, comfort, and a sense of arrival, but this is an external, subject to change and loss. The craving, once fulfilled, often simply transfers to the next object, the next upgrade, creating a cycle of temporary satisfaction followed by new wanting. Now contrast this with the focused pursuit of becoming a more honest person. This desire is for an internal quality, a virtue that is entirely within your power to cultivate. Each time you choose truthfulness, you fulfill this desire directly. Your sense of worth grows from your own actions, not from the approval of others or the shine of a new possession. The car, if it comes, is enjoyed lightly. If it does not, your core peace remains intact because it was never dependent on it. This week, identify one desire you can practice moderating. It does not have to be a grand life change. Perhaps it is the urge to check for social media validation, or the wish for a particular treat that you find yourself thinking about too often. Simply notice the pull of that wanting. When it arises, pause for a moment. Remind yourself that this is an external, a preferred thing, but not a necessary one for your tranquility. Your freedom grows not from getting what you want, but from wanting what is truly good for your soul. A reed bends in the wind while an oak tree may break. The Stoic, like the reed, practices a thoughtful yielding to the currents of life. This is the art of acquiescence, a willing acceptance of nature's flow. It is not a weakness or a passive surrender, but an intelligent alignment with reality as it is, a quiet trust in the larger, rational order of the cosmos. You detach from the ego's frantic need to command every detail, and instead learn to move with the events you encounter. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this principle, urging his own mind to flow willingly with the universal nature. He wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny for what could more aptly fit your needs." This is about seeing each event, even the inconvenient or challenging ones, as a thread intentionally part of your life's larger fabric. Consider the traveler whose flight is suddenly delayed for hours. The natural reaction is one of frustration, a futile fight against the immutable facts of weather and logistics. The ego rails against the unfairness, wasting precious energy in a battle that cannot be won. The practice of acquiescence invites a different response. It begins with a conscious breath and the internal acknowledgement, this is what is happening. With that acceptance, the energy that was spent on resistance is freed. The traveler finds a quiet corner to read a book they have been meaning to open, or uses the time to call a loved one. The situation has not changed, but their relationship to it has transformed completely. They are no longer a victim of circumstance, but a conscious participant in their own experience. Where in your own life are you currently straining like a rigid oak against an unchangeable wind? Is it a project timeline that has shifted or a plan that has dissolved? Can you, just for a moment, stop pushing and practice a gentle yielding? What might you do with the energy you would have spent on that fight? This intelligent surrender is not about giving up, but about stepping into a far more profound and resilient kind of control. What if you intentionally made your life a little harder to make your spirit infinitely stronger? This is the thoughtful core of voluntary discomfort, a Stoic practice that functions as a gym for the soul. Its purpose is not to punish the body, but to systematically train your detachment from external comforts and conveniences. By periodically choosing to experience minor challenges, you build a profound resilience that shields you from the shocks of unexpected misfortune. You prove to yourself, through direct experience, that your peace and your character do not depend on perfect conditions. The Roman philosopher Seneca was a strong advocate for this approach. He advised his readers to set aside a certain number of days each month to practice simplicity, to live on the most modest and inexpensive food, and to wear coarse clothing. He asked, is it not true that the one who is accustomed to humble circumstances has the advantage over the one who fears them? His contemporary, Musonius Rufus, taught that practicing self-restraint was essential for building a strong character, suggesting that comfort and ease can quietly weaken our capacity to endure. The goal is to voluntarily encounter what you might otherwise fear, so that if it ever comes to you involuntarily, you are already prepared and unafraid. Think of taking a walk on a crisp day without reaching for the heaviest coat. The initial chill is a sensation, not a threat. You are not causing harm, you are simply feeling the weather. With each step, you are practicing a quiet dialogue with your own comfort, reminding yourself that you can handle this minor physical sensation without distress. Or consider choosing to skip a single meal, not for any dietary reason, but as a mental exercise. You observe the pangs of hunger and recognize them as temporary signals, not emergencies. You learn that your will can sit with a feeling of wanting and choose not to immediately satisfy it. This small act strengthens your inner authority over your automatic impulses. This week, what one small voluntary discomfort can you invite into your life? Could you take a cooler shower or choose a simple meal over a more elaborate one? The point is not the act itself, but the conscious choice behind it. Each time you willingly step away from a comfort, you are building a deeper, more unshakable comfort within your own mind. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This powerful reminder from Marcus Aurelius is not a threat but a profound liberation. It is the heart of the Stoic practice known as Memento Mori, the remembrance of our finite time. This is not a dark fixation, but the ultimate tool for detaching from temporal anxiety, from the endless procrastination and trivial pursuits that can quietly consume our days. When you hold the reality of life's brevity in your mind, it acts as a clarifying filter, showing what is truly essential and what is merely noise. It detaches you from the illusion of endless tomorrows and attaches you firmly to the urgent importance of living well today. Marcus Aurelius also noted that it is not the length of life that matters, but the depth. A single day lived with purpose and virtue is more significant than a long span of years spent in distraction and complaint. This perspective shifts your focus from the quantity of your time to the quality of your character and your actions in each moment. Imagine two people with an hour of free time. One spends it in a passive scroll through a digital feed, a temporary escape that leaves little behind but a faint sense of emptiness. The other, holding the Memento Mori awareness lightly in mind, uses that same hour to call a family member for a genuine conversation, or to take the first small step on a project that holds deep meaning for them. The time is identical, but the weight of its use is entirely different. One is an investment in externals, the other is a cultivation of inner richness and real connection. This is the practical power of remembering. It does not ask you to live in fear, but to live with fierce and loving intention. So let me ask you a question to sit with for a moment. If you knew with certainty that you had 1 year left to live, what would you stop doing immediately? The answers that arise are not a dark to-do list, but a bright and clarifying map pointing directly toward your truest priorities and away from the attachments that no longer serve your freedom. Between any event and your reaction, there is a space. In that space lies your freedom. This is the practice of judgment suspension, a conscious pause where you step back from the raw, unexamined impressions that so often shape our emotional state. The Stoics understood that our initial interpretations are not facts. They are often value-laden and distorted, arriving with a powerful emotional charge that urges an immediate and often unhelpful response. By learning to withhold your assent, your automatic agreement with these impressions, you reclaim the authority to choose your reaction based on reason, not reflex. Epictetus made this process beautifully clear. He taught that it is not the event itself that disturbs us, but our judgment about the event. And that judgment, he noted, is something we can choose not to endorse. Your freedom is exercised in that moment of conscious choice. Imagine you receive some thoughtful feedback on a project you poured your heart into. The initial impression arrives, a wave of heat and defensiveness. The unexamined thought is, this is an attack on my competence. Without that pause, this thought triggers a cascade of emotion, perhaps leading to a sharp reply or a retreat into frustration. But with the practice of suspension, you catch the wave, you feel the surge, but you do not ride it. You create a space. In that quiet moment, you can turn the feedback over in your mind and ask 2 simple questions. Is this true in any part, and is it helpful for me to consider? By pausing, you have transformed the feedback from a personal challenge into a collection of observations you can evaluate. You are no longer a reactor, you are an investigator of your own experience. The emotional charge softens because you have detached your sense of worth from the initial impression. Today, find one small everyday moment to practice with. It could be a slow-moving line, a brief email, or an interrupted conversation. When you feel that familiar pull to react, consciously insert a deliberate 3-second pause. Do nothing in that space but breathe and observe the impression as it is, not as it claims to be. This tiny act of suspension is where your freedom truly begins to live. The Stoics saw the universe not as chaotic, but as an interconnected, rational whole. This belief in a divine reason or providence weaving through all events was not a matter of blind faith, but a philosophical anchor. It offered a way to detach from the exhausting need to understand the immediate why behind every hardship, and instead to trust in a larger, benevolent pattern. When you are convinced that the cosmos is fundamentally ordered and good, you can meet misfortune not with resentment, but with a quiet curiosity about its place in your development. The Stoic philosopher Cleans expressed this profound trust in his hymn to Zeus, writing, "Lead me, O Zeus, and thou, O destiny, to the end that you have assigned me. I will follow without hesitation." This is the voice of someone who has released the need to steer the entire ship, trusting the current itself is carrying them toward a meaningful destination. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this theme, reminding himself to accept everything that happens as necessarily happening, and so you would accept it as if you had wished for it. He saw the universe as a single living being with one substance and one soul, where all things are intertwined and work together for the good of the whole. Think of a single thread in a vast, intricate tapestry. From its limited viewpoint, it only sees the knots, the tangles, and the sudden changes in color and direction. It cannot comprehend the magnificent image it is helping to create. Our lives are like those threads, a disappointment, a sudden change of plans, a transition we did not foresee. These are the knots and turns that feel confusing and painful from our narrow perspective. But what if they are essential to a pattern we are not yet meant to see? A pattern that includes not only our own growth but our unseen connection to others. Can you look back on a past difficulty, one that felt entirely senseless at the time, and trace how it might have been a hidden guide? Perhaps a missed opportunity led you to a path you would have otherwise overlooked, or a period of challenge forged a resilience you now rely upon every day. That experience may have been the very thread that, by pulling you in a new direction, allowed a more beautiful part of the pattern to emerge in your life. This trust in a rational order does not erase pain, but it does free you from the added burden of bitterness, opening the door to a deeper, more resilient form of peace. How much of your mental energy is spent worrying about what other people think? This quiet preoccupation can shape our choices, silence our voices, and keep us from the very things that make us feel most alive. The Stoics offered a direct and liberating path through this, a practice of detaching from the fickle winds of praise and blame to anchor our sense of worth in something unshakable within. Fame and infamy, they taught, are classic externals as far outside our control as the weather. The person who lives for applause hands over the keys to their happiness to a crowd that can change its mind in an instant. The Stoic, by contrast, seeks to live in harmony with their own nature and reason. Their goal is to act with integrity, to do the right thing as they understand it, and to find their deepest satisfaction in that virtuous action itself, not in the cheers or boos that may follow. Epictetus put it with his characteristic clarity. He said, if someone criticizes you, that is their business, their judgment. It is not your burden to carry. Your only business is your own character and your own response. Consider two artists. The first creates with one eye constantly on the market, tailoring their work to chase trends and win approval. Their mood soars with a positive review and plummets with a negative comment. Their creative spirit is held hostage by the opinions of others. The second artist creates from an authentic inner calling, driven by a need to express a personal truth or beauty. They pour their skill and heart into the work, and while they may prefer it to be seen and appreciated, their fundamental satisfaction comes from the act of creation itself, from the integrity of their effort. A quiet reception cannot diminish the value they found in the process. Their piece is not for sale to the highest bidder. So take a moment now and ask yourself this question with complete honesty. What is one thing you would start doing or stop doing or do entirely differently if you were completely free from the fear of other people's judgments? The answer to that question is not just a fantasy. It is a direct map to a part of your life where a more profound and personal freedom is patiently waiting for you. Bring your attention entirely to this moment right now. Listen to the sounds around you, feel the surface beneath you. This point, the ever-unfolding present, is the only territory where you have any real power. The Stoics understood that our minds habitually flee this space, getting lost in the worries of what might happen tomorrow or the heavy memories of what occurred yesterday. But anxiety is a future tenant and regret lives in the past. Both are illusions you cannot act upon. True detachment, the Stoic kind, is the conscious choice to unhook from these phantom realms and anchor your entire being in the here and now, because this is the only point where your reason and your will can actually operate. Marcus Aurelius offered himself this simple, powerful instruction. He wrote, "Confine yourself to the present. Your ability to choose, to act with virtue, to exercise your judgment, exists nowhere else. Imagine a musician in the middle of a complex piece. If their mind is fixated on the difficult passage coming up, their fingers may fumble from the tension of anticipation. If they are replaying a minor mistake from 2 measures back, they will miss the beauty of the current phrase. But when they are fully absorbed in playing just this note, with all their skill and feeling, they are free. The music flows not from a place of worry, but from a deep engagement with the only moment that exists, the one under their fingers. Their detachment from past and future is what allows their artistry to fully inhabit the present. Let us try a brief experiment together. For the next 30 seconds, let everything else fall away. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Direct all of your awareness to your breath. Do not try to change it, just notice the sensation of the air moving in and the air moving out. If your mind wanders to a thought about later today, gently note it and return to the breath. If a memory arises, acknowledge it and come back to the feeling of this single inhalation. This simple act is not just relaxation, it is a profound training in Stoic detachment. You are practicing the fundamental skill of placing your attention, your most precious resource, squarely in the one place where your life is actually happening and where your freedom is always waiting. The Stoics never demanded a life of poverty. They invited you toward a life of freedom, whether you find yourself with wealth or without it. This is the subtle but vital distinction surrounding what they called preferred indifference. Things like money, health, and reputation are called preferred because it is completely natural and rational to choose them over their opposites. Who would not prefer financial security over insecurity? Yet they remain indifferents because in the final measure of your character and your virtue, they do not count. Your moral worth is determined by how you use what you have, not by what you have. A wise person can be equally good, equally free, and equally at peace in a simple room or a grand hall because their treasure is internal. Seneca explored this idea with great clarity in his writings on wealth. He observed that riches are a slave to the wise person, but a master to the fool. For the person who understands what truly matters, money is a useful tool, a resource to be directed toward good ends. But for the person who has misplaced their values, wealth becomes a tyrant, creating endless worry about its protection, its growth, and its potential loss. Your freedom hinges on this relationship. Consider the stark contrast between 2 individuals. The miser stays up at night, haunted by market shifts and consumed with protecting every coin. Their identity is fused with their net worth. The money owns them, dictating their moods and their fears. Now picture a philanthropist who inherits a fortune. They see the wealth not as an extension of their self, but as a temporary stewardship. The money is a tool for funding education, for alleviating hardship, for creating beauty. They use it virtuously while holding it lightly, knowing it could all change tomorrow. Their sense of purpose comes from the act of giving, not from the possession itself. So take a moment and bring to mind one possession you truly value. It could be your home, a particular device, or a family heirloom. Now ask yourself this honest question. Do you own this thing, or does it, in some quiet way, own you? Does your peace of mind depend on its safety and presence? The answer is not about discarding what you have, but about reclaiming the role of conscious author over your own inner world. Think of your mind as having a gatekeeper whose sole job is to question every impression that arrives. This is the core of the Stoic Discipline of Assent, the active mechanism that transforms detachment from a concept into a daily practice. It is the skill of pausing before you automatically agree with the raw data of your thoughts and feelings. Epictetus organized the entire path to wisdom around 3 essential disciplines: the mastery of desire, the fulfillment of your duty in action, and this, the careful practice of assent to your impressions. This is the proactive work of your inner freedom. You are not a passive recipient of every mental event. You are the active investigator who decides what gets to shape your inner world. A fearful thought knocks at the gate, a wave of desire arises, and instead of being swept away, your gatekeeper steps forward to ask a simple, powerful question. Is this impression true, or is it merely a persuasive story my mind is telling me? Your power lies in that moment of inquiry. Consider the familiar surge of frustration in a long line. The automatic impression is that this delay is a terrible inconvenience, an active offense against your valuable time. Without the gatekeeper, this impression is granted immediate assent, fueling irritation and a sense of being unfairly treated. But with the discipline of assent, you intercept that thought. You question it. Is this person's slow pace or this system's inefficiency truly something harmful, or is it simply a neutral event, a minor friction in the day? By withholding your immediate agreement, you drain the event of its emotional power. You see it for what it is, a circumstance, not a personal attack. Your inner calm remains your own because you chose not to hand it over to the situation. This week, choose one recurring negative thought pattern to observe with your new gatekeeper. Perhaps it is the thought that you are not capable enough when facing a new challenge, or the worry that a certain person is intentionally difficult. When that familiar impression arises, do not fight it. Simply greet it at the gate and ask, is this absolutely and entirely true? What other, more generous or more factual story could also fit this situation? This small act of questioning is not about suppressing a feeling, but about reclaiming your authority as the one who gives things their final meaning in your mind. A common charge against Stoicism is that it is heartless, but the truth is, it teaches a more sustainable form of compassion. The Stoic ideal was never to stop caring. It was to care so effectively that you do not become consumed by the very suffering you aim to relieve. This is sympathy without absorption, a practice of helping others from a place of rational duty and our shared humanity, while consciously stepping back from the emotional turmoil that can paralyze your ability to act. It is about being helpful, not helpless. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this when dealing with difficult people. He would note that when others act unjustly, they do so out of ignorance because they mistakenly believe their actions are good for them. He advised himself to see them not as malicious enemies, but as misguided kin, separated from the truth. This perspective shift is not an excuse to walk away. It is a reason to engage with calm strength, offering a clearer path rather than mirroring their confusion. Think of two doctors in a busy hospital. The first feels every patient's pain and fear as if it were their own. They absorb the emotional weight of each case, and over time, this leads to exhaustion and a diminished capacity to care for the next person. The second doctor provides the same excellent, attentive care, but they maintain an inner equilibrium. They understand their role is to bring their full skill and presence to each situation without being emotionally overthrown by it. Their calm becomes a source of stability for everyone around them, and their compassion remains a renewable resource. This is the Stoic approach in action. So where in your own life can you practice this form of steady compassion? Is there someone you are helping, but whose struggle is beginning to drain your own peace? Can you find a way to offer your support from a place of calm strength, rather than from a place of anxious empathy that mirrors their distress? Your steady presence may become the very anchor they need. We have discussed preparing for change, but this practice also has a beautiful, immediate benefit. It makes you fall in love with your life as it is. The very same exercise that fortifies you against future uncertainty simultaneously opens your eyes to the quiet miracles of your present moment. This is the other side of Premeditatio Malorum, where the act of mentally letting go of what you cherish transforms your relationship with it from one of passive ownership to one of active, vibrant appreciation. You detach from the assumption of permanence and, in doing so, attach more deeply to the precious, fleeting now. Seneca captured this dual purpose perfectly when he advised his friend Lucilius to enjoy every blessing of your life while you have it, and do not rely on its continuing for all time. He wrote, "Whenever you leave the house, reflect that you may not return, and when you return, reflect that you may not leave again." This is not a somber fixation. It is a profound strategy for awakening gratitude. By consciously confronting the temporary nature of all things, you break the trance of taking them for granted. The ordinary becomes extraordinary simply because it is here, and you are present enough to notice. Try this gentle experiment. Think of someone you love deeply, a partner, a child, a close friend. Close your eyes for just a moment and allow yourself to vividly imagine a world where they are no longer present in your life. Picture the silence in your home, the empty space at the table, the stories you can no longer share. Sit with that feeling of change, not to dwell in sadness, but to fully appreciate its meaning. Now open your eyes, see them, or feel their presence in your mind with that awareness fresh and clear. Notice the subtle shift in your perception, how their very existence feels like a gift you have just been given again. The minor irritation from yesterday softens, replaced by a simple, profound gratitude for their presence. This is the alchemy of negative visualization. It turns potential transition into present love. So today, take one thing you are genuinely grateful for, something you might usually overlook. It could be the warmth of your bed, the ability to walk freely, or the comfort of a familiar view. Mentally let it go. Picture your life without it. Then, bring your attention back to its reality and allow yourself to truly feel the value of what is already yours. Of all the passions, the Stoics saw anger as the most destructive and the most unwise. They did not view it as a righteous fire, but as a poison you willingly drink while hoping another person suffers. Anger, in the Stoic framework, is the ultimate failure of detachment. It is a fierce and painful attachment to the rigid judgment that you have been deliberately wronged. This attachment chooses suffering, creating a storm within you over an event that has already passed and is outside your direct control. Seneca dedicated an entire work to this subject, and his conclusion was stark. He wrote that anger is a brief madness and that it is never useful. It never solves a problem that could not be solved better with a calm and clear mind. The person in a rage has abandoned reason, and in doing so, they have handed over their inner freedom to the very person or event they believe has upset them. Detachment in the face of provocation involves a profound shift in perspective. It asks you to see the other person's action not as a personal attack, but as the result of their own lack of awareness or error. They are acting from a mistaken belief that their behavior is justified or beneficial. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that when people do frustrating things, they do so because they believe it is the right thing to do from their limited viewpoint. Your power lies in refusing to compound their error with one of your own. Consider the all-too-familiar scenario of road frustration. Another driver moves abruptly into your lane. The automatic, attached response is a surge of heat, a blast of the horn, a shouted remark they cannot even hear. The story you tell yourself is one of intentional disrespect, a personal violation. Now apply the Stoic alternative. You take a conscious breath. You observe the action for what it is, a mistake, a moment of poor judgment or simple carelessness by another human being. You might even feel a flicker of understanding for someone moving through their day with such hurry and inattention. Your focus remains on your own sphere of control, navigating your vehicle safely and maintaining your own inner balance. The other driver's action becomes a neutral external, like a sudden gust of wind, and your peace remains intact because you chose not to be offended. Recall a recent moment when you felt a flash of frustration, however small. It could have been a thoughtless comment from a colleague or a moment of impatience with a loved one. Look at that moment again, but this time through the lens of a detached observer. Ask yourself gently, what was the lack of awareness here? What misunderstanding, what pressure, what limited perspective might have been guiding the other person's action? This is not about excusing poor behavior, but about freeing yourself from the corrosive attachment to the story of being a victim. When you see the misunderstanding behind the action, you disarm the frustration at its source, and you reclaim the space to choose your response from a place of unshakable freedom. The Stoic sage does not see themselves as just an individual, but as a limb of the great body of humanity. This expansive view is known as Cosmopolitanism, the profound sense of being a citizen of the entire universe. It is the ultimate source of a detached perspective, lifting you out of the narrow confines of your personal worries and attaching your sense of purpose to the welfare of the whole. When you identify with the vast, interconnected community of all rational beings, your private gains and losses begin to feel less like absolute victories or catastrophes, and more like the small, natural movements of a much larger organism. Marcus Aurelius returned to this truth again and again in his private meditations. He wrote that what brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee, and he instructed himself to remember that you are a citizen of the great world city, a part of its fabric. Your personal concerns are not erased, but they are placed in a context so grand that their power to disturb your peace naturally diminishes. Consider the difference between two politicians. The first operates with a narrow identity, viewing the world through the lens of their party's victory. Every political maneuver is a battle, every compromise a defeat. Their emotional state is a roller coaster of partisan wins and losses, their inner peace held hostage by the daily news cycle. Now, imagine a second politician who genuinely sees themselves as a citizen of the entire nation. Their focus shifts from party dominance to the common good. They can engage in debate and accept a legislative outcome they did not want, not as a personal failure, but as a contribution to the larger, ongoing work of the community. Their sense of worth comes from serving the whole, which allows them to remain steady and purposeful regardless of temporary political fortunes. Their detachment from the small identity frees them to act for the greater one. Today, you can practice this cosmic citizenship. As you move through your day, look for one small, anonymous act of kindness to perform for a stranger. It could be holding a door, offering a genuine compliment, or simply making eye contact and sharing a smile. As you do it, consciously hold the thought in your mind that this person is not an outsider. They are a fellow citizen of your world city, a living thread in the same universal tapestry as you. This simple action, rooted in a detached and expanded sense of self, quietly reinforces the most profound freedom of all, the freedom that comes from knowing you are part of something beautiful and immense. The Stoics ended their day not with distraction, but with a quiet conversation with themselves. This nightly ritual of self-examination, known as the evening review, was their dedicated training ground for reinforcing the habit of detachment. It transformed philosophy from an abstract idea into a lived practice, a constant feedback loop for strengthening your inner freedom. Each night, they would retreat into a moment of stillness and revisit the events of the day with a gentle but honest curiosity. The central questions were simple yet profound. Where did I succeed in practicing detachment today, and where did I struggle, becoming overly attached to an outcome or an external judgment? This was not an exercise in self-criticism, but in self-awareness, a way to learn and grow from every single experience. Seneca beautifully detailed his own practice in his letters, writing that he would examine his entire day, going back over what he had done and said, hiding nothing from himself and passing nothing by. He believed this was how we should go to sleep, with a calm and reconciled mind. Picture a long day at work where a discussion in a meeting grew tense. During your evening review, you might recall that moment of sharp irritation. Instead of simply labeling it as a difficult moment, you gently investigate the source. You realize the heat you felt did not come from the topic itself, but from your deep attachment to being seen as right, to having your idea validated by the room. That need for external validation was the hook, the point where your peace became tied to something outside your control. By noting this, you are not judging yourself. You are gathering invaluable data. You are learning the unique shape of your own attachments so you can recognize them more quickly tomorrow. Tonight, before you close your eyes, consider giving yourself the gift of just 5 quiet minutes. Find a comfortable space and ask yourself those 2 simple questions. Where did I practice detachment well today, perhaps by letting a minor comment pass without reaction? And where can I improve tomorrow, maybe by preparing to hold a strong opinion a little more lightly? This small, consistent act is how you build the muscle of awareness, turning the philosophy of freedom into the very rhythm of your life. After exploring all these practices, we can now see that Stoic freedom is not a set of circumstances. It is an unshakable state of mind. It is the profound inner liberty you cultivate when you systematically detach your sense of happiness from everything you cannot command and anchor it firmly in the one thing you always can, your own reasoned choice and your commitment to virtuous character. This is a freedom that no external power can ever take from you. Epictetus offered the definitive statement on this when he declared, "He is free who lives as he wishes." For the Stoic, this does not mean wishing for a life without obstacles or guaranteed comforts. It means training your deepest wishes to align only with what is within your power. You learn to wish only to act with integrity, to judge with clarity, and to accept with grace whatever life brings. When your will is in harmony with nature's rational order, you truly live as you wish, regardless of your physical surroundings. Consider the global celebrity surrounded by every luxury and adored by millions. Yet if their peace depends on that adoration, they are utterly confined, a captive to the next headline or social media trend. Their freedom is an illusion borrowed from the crowd. Now picture the Stoic philosopher Seneca writing his most profound letters while facing political restriction, or Epictetus teaching his students after having experienced deep personal challenge. Their external situations could be described as limiting, yet their inner world remained a vast and unassailable realm of freedom. Their peace was built on a foundation no authority could touch. So, after this journey through the Stoic art of detachment, take a quiet moment to ask yourself this question: what does true freedom mean to you now? Is it the absence of difficulty, or is it the presence of an unshakable calm that you carry with you, no matter what the world brings your way? Stoic detachment is your master key to inner freedom, a practice not of cold withdrawal but of wise and resilient engagement with the world. This journey has revealed that our liberty is not found in controlling life's events, but in mastering our relationship to them. We learn to sort our world using the essential filter of the dichotomy of control, directing our deepest investment toward our own judgments and actions while holding outcomes more lightly. We explored the transformative power of Amor Fati, the love of fate, which invites us to welcome every event as a necessary part of our growth. These are not separate tricks but different facets of the same profound truth that your peace is an inside job. Marcus Aurelius left us with a final, luminous reminder of this when he wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Your inner world is your ultimate domain, the one territory where you are the sole and sovereign author." This week, do not feel you must adopt every practice at once. Choose just one. Perhaps you will begin your day with a moment of thoughtful reflection to awaken gratitude, or you will end it with a gentle evening review. Maybe you will practice inserting that crucial pause before responding to a challenging impression. Your path to freedom is built one conscious choice at a time. We would love to hear which principle resonated most with you in the comments below. Sharing your journey helps create a community dedicated to living with greater purpose and peace. If this exploration of Stoic wisdom has been valuable, subscribe for more journeys into the ideas that help us build lives of unshakable calm and